Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday to everyone. Welcome to Wife Her. Wife Her standing for Wife Healed, Empowered, Restored. So welcome. It is July. This is June 29th. I meant to say July. We getting there, but not quite. And today we have a wonderful conversation happening. And along with me this morning is Kadra Sawyer, the beautiful Kadra Sawyer, who is our mom's team lead. And then she has the gracious responsibility or task with introducing our guest of honor. So we ask you to listen in, write some notes, ask some questions as we go along, and also to share our YouTube link, our YouTube page, share it. If you are not a part of the Wi-Fi community, feel free to join us, send us an invite, and we have a Welcome Wednesday every week. We'd be happy to have you with us. So on to you, Kadra.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So today we have the beautiful, talented Holly Sands. Holly is a certified and licensed physiotherapist. She's a member of the Chartered Society of Physiotherapists, the Health and Care Professions Council, both in the UK. Both of those are in the UK, and then the Bahamas Association of Physiotherapists, as well as the Bahamas Health Professions Council. So Holly has over 5 years of experience in both public and private practice in physiotherapy services in the UK and the Bahamas. And now Holly has her own company where she specializes in pediatric physiotherapy called Thrive Bahamas, located in Sandyport, correct?
No, we're uptown. We are on Hawkins Hill next to Doctor's Hospital.
There you go. Sorry. Hawkins Hill next to Doctor's Hospital. And Holly feels strongly about providing a safe, fun, and age-appropriate environment for children to thrive while working, which is playing for them, hard to achieve their therapy goals. Holly is a lifelong learner, specializes in early intervention therapy, so that's between the ages of 0 to 36 months, diagnosis and treatment of developmental motor disorders, as well as physical impairments and injuries for children up to 18 years. So she continues to develop these skills, especially for the children. So we thought it was really important to bring Holly to see how we could give as much information out to the moms, new moms, existing moms, professional moms like Tamara. And also some people who, your aunties, all of that, where you might have some concerns or you just want to say, hey, is this okay? Is that okay? Mm-hmm. What should I do here? So starting off, we'll start off with a couple of general questions, right? So Holly, what do you think parents should be looking out for generally if they're concerned about their children having motor issues?
Very big question. First off, good morning, everybody. I am Holly. I am a pediatric physiotherapist. I absolutely love what I do. I love the littles. And it is my goal that every child that comes in to see me walks out feeling a little bit more equipped, a little bit stronger, and parents feeling a little bit more empowered and encouraged to help their little ones thrive. So these are my favorite talks to give. I think knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so important to have these discussions and just hash it out, because before we even get into any answers, I want to inform you all that no child is the same. Moms, I'm sure you can agree, first child to second child to third, as well as, no child is the same in comparison to your best friend or your sister. Literally, no child is the same, and it's important to view them and their development under, their own eyes. And I think that's the difference between pediatric specialists who really devote time to getting to know that child specifically. As we embark on this, I want you to take everything with a grain of salt and understand that it's a range And these are overarching guidelines, suggestions that you can look out for. But I would always advise that you can reach out to me or your healthcare provider and, come up with a plan that is specific to your child. So, disclaimer out the way. What
Thank
was
you.
the question? Could you repeat it?
Yes. So, what do you think parents should look out for to determine if they should be concerned about a motor issue with their child?
Okay, so first and foremost, I think a mother's gut is the most important sign, right? I always encourage my parents that if you feel something is wrong, go and get it checked out. That's the first sign, right? Because you are likely, or whoever the primary caregiver is spending the most time with the child. If you feel something is wrong, get it checked out, okay? So again, signs in looking for something that's wrong depends on the age of the child, right? So, first and foremost, globally speaking, if you see any signs of regression, so if you say, "Oh, my baby was rolling, oh, but she's not rolling anymore. My son was crawling, but now he's bum scooting. I don't understand." Any sign of aggression, you want to ensure that you get that checked out. And then another big thing is if you notice any injuries or avoidance in your child, they were happily walking, but now he's hopping or limping. He was crawling, but now he doesn't want to put his hand down on the ground. Has he hurt himself? Is there an injury? The bigger signs, any inflammation, any redness, any swelling, those are things you want to look out for. But just globally, any signs of regression, any signs of avoidance, and if your mom gut is flaring, telling you that something is going on is pretty much where I like to start.
Yeah. That I'm not gonna lie. That's one of the fears. I noticed fear. That's one of the things that I notice my children are like, maybe I shouldn't. So one of the comments, they notice fear or apprehension after they've fallen. Is that a sign of a motor issue or something else?
Again, it depends on the age of the child. And also, what are their communication skills like? Have they grasped the concept of fear? Have they grasped the concept of, oh, that's wrong, I shouldn't do that? Or, so fear is okay. It's actually critical to learning and overcoming those challenges, but it's not a gross motor signal that something is wrong, okay? It can be a very teachable moment depending on what the milestone is. Is it descending or ascending stairs? Is it learning to jump? Is it, taking a step from a smooth tile cool surface onto grass? What is the reason we're having this apprehension, right? So I would always consider the bigger picture. Why are we scared? Are we scared to hurt ourselves? Are we scared because it's a sensory change? Are we scared because is it gonna hurt? What's the context? And when we're thinking about our children, we're thinking about the child, we're thinking about the task at hand and the environment that they're in. What's changing and why?
So a little bit of apprehension is a good sign if it's a reasonable moment.
If it makes sense to you, it very much likely makes sense to the child, right?
Mm-hmm.
But context is very important, right? Especially if it was traumatic, if we got a skinned knee or we got a whole new scar because of it, then that's normal, right? But if you're noticing it in your infant or your less than 18-month-old that they're really averse to something, then I would check it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Can I add to that too? Just as a parent, I think even with the fear and apprehension, I think as parents, we sometimes impose that on our children too.
Absolutely.
Because
your language is very important, right?
Yeah, because my daughters are much older now, but I know sometimes when they would fall, if you don't do the, oh my God, or are you okay? Like if you just let them
Yeah.
fall and their natural reaction, unless it's really painful or it did really hurt, they're pretty much okay. They're gonna get up and it's like it never happened.
Right.
So I think a lot of sometimes the fear that our children experience is because we are fearful because they're our babies.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to see anything happen to them. So
So
that's
let's talk about falling.
Yeah.
Right? It's actually something that is taught and trained and practiced in therapy, right? Doesn't
Okay.
matter what age you're at. Falling is reflexive, it's innate. We have a response when we fall. We reach out with our hands, we take a step if we're off balance, we write in our trunk, we write in our ankles, we learn to fall on our knees, right? So when an infant or a toddler is learning how to walk or take a step or climb, right? As a therapist, we train those writing reactions. So we want to see if they can write themselves out of their base of support. We want to see if they're strong enough to catch themselves with their hands, right? And the same is true for an older child, if they are an athlete or a dancer or whatever it may be,
mm-hmm,
why did they fall? Was it mechanical? Did
mm-hmm,
they trip over a rock or a ledge?
Mm-hmm.
Or do they keep having falls and we're not sure why they're having falls? Are they prepubescent? Are their joints changing? Is their bone alignment changing? Are they anemic? Or is it neurological? Do they have a balanced vestibular issue? So falling is not just falling. So when we have this apprehension toward it, yes, the way mom or dad responds to it is, plays a huge role. But again, context. I saw a question on the list. I feel like my kid's clumsy. They're always falling. Should I be concerned about this?
Yeah.
Again, context. When are they clumsy? Is it when they're being silly and they're having fun and they're at home or they're the class clown? Or is it they're really, really focusing, like walking up on stage, trying to get that award and boom, they've fallen? Is it
Mm-hmm.
on the playground? Is it amongst their classmates? What is the context, right? So we always have a reason for it. But again, therapy wise, we work on that. Is it strengthening that they need? Is it work on their balance that they need? Do they need to learn that it's okay to fall and lose your balance? Empowering them with the knowledge that it's okay to fall and they can do hard things is where I start. Okay. So no question is silly. No apprehension is silly. It's real.
Yeah.
Right. I want us as adults to try and fall and see how we feel. How you get back up off the ground. When's the last time you fallen and got up off the ground?
Girl, I staying down and someone gonna have to pick me up. Okay.
Okay. So I tell my parents all the time the way that we forget that we were little people at one point, and we forget how much muscle strength it takes to get up off the ground. Okay. Like even if you're on the ground with your little one with tummy time or you're playing dolls or tea time, getting up off those little chairs and those little grounds, it takes a lot of coordination and muscle work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't just, chalk it up to come on, get up. Right? Absolutely. Falling is important, right? So we, as a therapist, we break it down into bite-sized pieces, okay? And for me, that's the way I work. I think it's more manageable when you break it down, right? So yeah. I could go on and on. I could go on and on about this, but it's important to know that it's okay, but why?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So looking at the context before you say, okay, this might be further than
Right. Let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I see a little boy in my clinic who, and again, this is similar to one of the questions that we were prepped with. He's on a soccer team. He isn't moving like his classmates. He's about 8 or 9 years old. He's a little slower. He's a little floppier. I notice him out in a crowd, I'm concerned. He's always falling. He's always got a bruise. He thinks it's the coolest thing. Like he's got another, warrior mark, but I'm concerned. What am I doing wrong? What should we do?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And again, the answer is okay, your mom gut's flaring. Okay. You're noticing a difference among your child with, again, like aged children.
Mm-hmm.
And now you want to do something about it. So then we break it down. What happens when you come into the office? Okay. As a pediatric physiotherapy session, we get to know the entire child. What's their family arrangement like in terms of who's he playing with at home? What are his extracurriculars like? What does he enjoy doing? Are there any environments we notice where this isn't happening? And then we break it down into the biological side of things. What was his birthing history like? What number child was he? What was your pregnancy like, Mom? Did he have a NICU stay after? Did he have any concerns with feeding shortly after he was born? Did he tolerate tummy time? Did he meet his milestones on time? Are there any reasons why he might be, to use your word, clumsy at this stage? And if not, if everything's fine, all of his well visits have gone well up to 12 years old, etc. Okay, let's look at, his joint function. Can he jump? Can he squat? Can he lunge? Can he kick a ball? Is he complaining of pain? Is he sleeping throughout the night well? What's going on? Okay, and then we look at strength and we look at function and we tailor it into a nice package that's fun for him so that he can understand, all right, this is really difficult for me. I really just want to play in my soccer tournament at the end of the school year. Okay, that's our goal. And so we break it down and work at the goal. Yes. I'm here. Hey.
She's at Thrive Bahamas, but it'll be, what we'll do is
I'll send my information after. I'm in Nassau. We opened about 2 years ago. Praise the Lord, it's going well. And yes, we are in Hawkins Hill. Sorry, we are in Hawkins Hill at the bottom of the hill, just off of Shirley Street, opposite Dr. Dwayne Sands' office.
Okay, so I mean, you mentioned it a little bit, but how do you know? Well, I wanted to ask about feeding then, because you started to mention it, right? If the baby's having a hard time feeding, right? They're biting, they're not sucking, or it takes them really long to feed. I know it happened to me at some point. I don't know how it got worked out. I'm being honest, it just kind of worked itself out at some point. And then the baby seems exhausted after. Is that something that physiotherapy can help with?
So it's an extra training and I got it. So sucking and feeding is one of my biggest referral concerns, right? So actually, when I was in training, sucking and feeding fell under the domain of speech therapy, right? Because it's the mouth, it's swallowing, it's breathing. But, my parents always come in, I'm having real difficult. And let me separate, I'm not a lactation specialist. Very different.
Yeah.
Okay. But yes, there are mechanics between the tongue, the lips, the cheeks, the jaw, the throat, the swallowing, breathing, coordination. I want you right now to swallow and think about how much muscles and different movements you used. The way that your tongue had to shape the bolus, push it to the back of the throat, close the windpipe and get it down, right? And we do that without thinking, right? So our babies are primarily nose breathers, right? That's why they're able to suck a bottle down and we say not come up for air, but it's for a reason, right? But if our babies don't have a secure latch, right? They're not able to get a secure latch around the nipple, whether it's the breast or the bottle. They're taking in a lot of air, which leads to our favorite, gassy, colicky babies, which may lead to reflux, right? Because they're not getting digestion well because there's a lot of air in the tummy, or they might have allergies. Lord, this could be a whole other segment. But it is very hard work. And if it doesn't go smoothly for a lot of mothers, it doesn't, leads to a very uncomfortable, cranky baby. And what do? They wriggle and they writhe because the gas in their tummy, and then it restricts their movement, and then they're delayed in their milestones, and then their neck goes to it's
Yeah.
all it's a chain. It's
Mm-hmm.
a chain, right? So where do we target the breakdown in that chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it really is all connected. If your baby doesn't have strong trunk control or head control, how do you expect them to feed well? Do you expect them to lift their head enough to open the throat to swallow? If they're struggling to hold their head up, right? Imagine, we can't swallow with our head
Yeah.
down this low. We need to have good neck extension. For good neck extension, we need good upper body strength. We need the ability to tuck our arms under, which is why tummy time is so important, And then if their head is not midline, right? Are they only using one side of their mouth? Are they getting all the visual cues that they need? Are they able to make that eye contact with mom and to know that they are having that feeding moment? All of these things are so crucial. So these 0 to 3 month old milestones are so important because
Okay.
they set the pace for, how your child will achieve their milestones down the line. Okay. And it's very nuanced and it's very emotional and it's very sensitive and it's heartbreaking because, Lord, you just want to feed the child. You want to make sure they're getting the nutrients that they need. And I don't want to starve my child and I want to give them the breast, but she's not. It's,
Yep.
mm-hmm.
You hit the nail on every head.
It's tough. And so I literally have mothers come in and I want them to show me how they're positioning their child when they're breastfeeding. How are they positioning the child when they're bottle feeding? What's the size of the nipple that you're using? Is the flow too much? Are you essentially drowning the child because you feel like his suck isn't strong enough, so you need the flow to be heavier, but are you doing a disservice or a service to that child? Are they having the suck, swallow, breathe pattern? When you listen, that sweet sound and the baby's feeding and you hear that, that every time they're sucking and swallowing and then they take a breath, what's that pattern? That's important as well, right? So it's a whole lot. And then we'll get into our picky eaters, right? After we're past the bottle. But yes, to answer your question, it's something that can be assessed and strengthened with a physio.
Okay. Now, on that same note, because I'm saying this because now you're out raising questions of my children that are done past that. So if a child is, let me try to stay on track. Let me look. Is this?
No, I mean, this is how the conversations flow.
If a child is struggling with tummy time, like at what ages, I guess, is it more normal to struggle with tummy time than others?
I love this question. Because tummy time begins the second that child is out of the womb. Any opportunity that child is on his or her tummy is an opportunity for tummy time. If she's laying on your chest, even her trying to pick her head up to look at mommy's beautiful face, that is tummy time. Okay. If she is on daddy's chest, even if you're holding her, say side lying, so then she's getting that neck strengthening to turn into side lying, right? The second that child is out of the womb, tummy time begins. So it's important to develop that neck strength, to develop orientation, because our baby's visions their acuity and their precision isn't there yet, right? So we need to equip them with that head to midline orientation and good neck strength and visual tracking to set them up. So this leads into, when is it too late to identify tummy time?
Mm-hmm.
Is their hearing, has their hearing been assessed? You know, can they hear sounds to actively rotate their neck? Is there is their vision, has their vision been checked? Two things that give us so much sensory input, right? So that's first and foremost important to rule out, while they're infant, and it should be done in the hospital and after your thank you, after your 3 to 6 month wellness check-in. Okay. And then in tummy time, they probably will hate it because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's no wonder they hate it because, as you know, their head to body ratio is much smaller than ours is, right? Their heads are heavy. Their heads are heavy, right? And again, moms, I would encourage you to lay on your tummy and you try to prop yourself up on your shoulders and hold your head up for 15 minutes a day, 3 times a day, whatever the guidelines suggest. You try it. You see if you enjoy it. Your shoulders will burn. The back of your neck will burn. I mean,
I'm sure.
it's a real workout, but it's so important, okay?
Mhm.
It is. You laugh about it, but try it. Literally,
No, I
I'm the
believe
type of
you.
therapist that is on the ground with these kids, and I
Yeah.
am like, I am doing this with you, honey. I am here.
Yeah.
Why? Because they do better when they see like examples around them,
Mhm.
as well as this is a pro tummy time tip, okay?
Mhm.
Where you are engaging that child in tummy time is important. You can't have, what's she name? Miss Rachel down on the bed while you in tummy time. Why? Because that's just bringing the child's neck down.
Mhm.
Okay. You need Miss Rachel at eye level. Okay. So she's lifting, baby's lifting their head up and they're engaged. Okay. And you're rotating that toy around. So they're engaging in their active neck range of motion and they have that freedom. Okay. So your child needs to be engaged in tummy time. Tip number one, and they need to be engaged at eye level. Okay, so the same with us, texting our head and neck down. We get home, we wonder why our neck hurted. No, it's because we're not engaged at eye level, right? And we're not doing anything for ourselves
Mhm.
when that toy is down.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep them engaged and keep them engaged with the toy at eye level. And while we're talking about being down on the ground, mummies, put that baby on the ground. Put that baby on the floor. Take their socks off. You heard me. And put that baby on the ground.
As
Okay?
long as you don't have to take off the hat.
Ooh, I get it. Cool heads. But sometimes that hat could be a little heavy.
I agree.
They don't need a whole time in July.
It's a Bahamian thing to do.
It is the main thing to do. And this is why I'm talking to y'all hard right now. Take them socks off that baby and put that baby on the ground. Of course, protect the ground.
Yeah.
Soft surface, even if you're just layering a few blankets on the ground or if you have a nice mat, you don't got to get expensive with it. Take a few blankets and layer them on the ground
Mhm.
and let them roll. This is what they are designed to do. And I say take the socks off because sensory input furthest away from the brain is one of the best and
Mm.
easiest ways to get sensory information to firing through that body. You keep socks on that baby. Yeah, you don't want his feet cold. He's not gonna, get all the sensory input he can. And then you wonder why he gets so excited in bath time. It's because he has socks on all day and it's the first time he's feeling something different. Okay. So yes, when the baby's out, put socks on or for certain times of the day. But then parents wonder why, oh, he hates walking on grass. Oh, he hates being barefoot. It's because he has not had any sensory input on his little feet for his whole 3, 4, 5 month life.
Yeah.
Okay. It's important to get them to feel different textures at all extremities. Okay. All these toys and gimmicks with different textures isn't for fun, right? So I have children come into the clinic with the black string around their wrist with the paper with the
The
brown
brown paper bag. The brown paper bag.
head.
Yeah.
A mother tell me, I have a big mirror because it's so good to do modeling with, the child in the mirror. This is baby's eyes, and they could also orient themselves to midline, etc. And I had a good behaving Grammy tell me, no, you don't put babies in front of the mirror. And I'm like, why? And they said, because the evil spirits could come and take them. And I turned to this Grammy. I said, do you want your child to thrive? And that baby has been in the mirror every session since then. So I know we get told by our mothers and our grandparents, all of these things, but there's a reason for it. There's a reason we need to separate ourselves from it. I have moms come in and, basically they just keep the baby in the bed with them and wondering why the baby has no trunk control or they can't roll. They can't roll because she's in a plush Tempur-Pedic comforter where she's in a cocoon all the time. She's not going to learn how to roll. Put that baby on the floor, a firm surface, and watch her roll. Okay? It's so simple. I tell people all the time, you don't have to spend money on all this equipment. You have what you need in your home already. Why? Because you've been living there and you've been doing just fine. Okay? Set up an environment with stuff that you already have and set your child up for success with things that you already have in your home. Okay? You don't need, they're fun and we love toys, but a couch cushion is a great obstacle to develop kneeling. A couch cushion is a great obstacle to put a toy on top and you get your child in prep for crawling and 4-point kneeling. Okay. You can stack 2 couch cushions even and watch them pull to stand. Okay. They don't always need the jungle gym or the fancy. Get a hamper, turn it upside down and watch them push that around.
Yeah.
Put some jingle bells on that and watch them go to town. Okay. It's easy to buy the toy, right? But you'll find that ordinary household items will do just fine.
And they prefer pots and pans anyway.
It's fine. Listen, I'm not saying don't buy the toys. I'm just saying you don't have to for your child to thrive. Okay.
I agree. Because they store them toys right to the side and they go after the everyday things that you have in the house, the remote control, the cordless phones, if people still have them. It's
because
just
they're watching you.
Yeah.
They're watching you and what you use. So if you demonstrate that you're happy with what you have in your home, right? And you on your tummy and tummy time, and you climbing up to the couch, they will do what you do. Literally, monkey see, monkey do from as early as it counts. So there's much to be learned. You'll learn a lot about yourself in the development of your child as you watch them develop. Okay?
True.
And I encourage you to mimic them, do what they're doing, and see how hard it is to roll. Girls, we know what it's like in the mornings to roll out of bed. That initial roll and getting your feet across and sitting up, it's hard because just think about it.
We gotta bring you back so we could do dispelling the mythbusters because
Absolutely.
there's so much I know and again my oldest is 14, so I have had to, like I tell people, you take it as a grain of salt. I don't know if y'all can hear my background with somebody jackhammering today, and it's very like, but yeah, because strangers in our culture would literally walk up to you and say, "Oh, you holding the baby wrong," or "You're holding their backings." I know, I'll never forget this. I took a picture of my oldest in the couch, like just propped up in the couch,
chilling.
Oh, her back is too straight. Her back is too straight. I was like, what's going on?
So I'll drop some more gems, right? And I want you to keep in mind, this is the way that I practice, okay? I personally, and the therapy police might come after me, but I don't believe in anything as good posture, right? Because I'm sure I just grew 4 inches sitting up in my chair just now. Okay. the way I practice, I think it's important that you and your child should be able to activate the muscles it takes to sit up, right? But to stay sustained in this position is not natural, okay? It's not comfortable. It might look good, right? And as young ladies, of course, we want to be sat up tall and, absolutely. But if this is our comfortable position, right? This is where we seek comfort, right? If your child is unable to do this, then I would say that's a problem, right? But if she wants to sit up on the couch with her back straight, she's fine. But then I would say, but can she slouch though? Can she get comfortable? Does she have the ability to relax her tummy muscles or her leg muscles and just be comfortable? Because then what? If we are erect all the time, we're gonna be tight. We're gonna have a stiff back or a stiff neck, So context again is important. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention there is to bring it back to tummy time and these milestones, right? Your child needs to establish good head control by 3 months. Okay. And when I say head control, the ability to hold their head upright at midline in whatever position that they're in. If you tilt them to the side, you should see their head right to center. You tilt them to the other side, you should see their head right to center. And shortly after that, tummy time should be tolerated very well. Okay, without any concern, because then they have the ability to roll, which we want to start seeing around 3 to 4 months. In my experience, my babies have, not mine, Holly has no children, my kids,
For all your babies.
all my babies typically roll from back to belly before they roll belly to back, but it varies, okay? But you want to see rolling occur between that 3 and 4 month mark, or start one or the other, belly to back or back to belly, okay? And once you see them rolling, they're activating these trunk muscles, then you know that we can start to look for independent sitting. Around that early is around 5 months, but by 7 months, really, they should be sitting independently, okay? And just to knock off the major milestones while we're here, because we're 30 minutes in and haven't talked about any timelines. And there are mini milestones too that are super important. Once we've achieved independent sitting is when we really should start branching out into feeding, getting into some solids. Why? Because they have that good trunk tone, they have that good head control, and they should be able to maneuver food to mouth, hand-eye coordination. So that's your fine motor skills. And I could define gross motor from fine motor if you need me to. And they're getting that hand-eye coordination. Here, what's important to note is that handedness in a child, meaning whether you're right-handed or left-handed, does not develop until they're about 2 years of age. So you want to encourage that they are able to use both hands, pick up a big block, pick up their cup, and pick up the tiniest little pencil with both hands, because you want them to thrive. You want them to be able to do everything, right? And handedness really isn't developed in the brain. Of course, I'm sure there's a seed in there that says you're going to be right-handed one day, but you don't want them to always rely on one hand and then be weak or less dexterous in the other hand, okay? So until they're 2 years old, let them eat that banana and pick up with both hands, and let that feeding process be messy. Why? For the same reason as the socks. If they are experiencing different textures from their fingertips, okay, that is neurological impulses going back to the brain, and it is less likely for them to be picky eaters, okay?
That actually leads to a question. Yeah. As they crawl more, should they be wiping their hands often? Or you want to just leave it on there?
This is personal. Okay, this is very personal, and it's personal preference. Of course, we should be cleaning and washing and wiping their hands, right? But then we get into virology and building an immune system and what's normal. I think I'm not a mother, so don't come for me, not yet. I think a little bit of crawling at home in their home environment, I'm talking about in your protected homes. I'm not talking about outside, okay? In their protected homes and them exploring, the way children explore is to mouth, okay? Mouthing is very crucial for their sensory exploration. They will put everything to their mouths. And guess what? Mouthing is bilateral. They're bringing hands to midline, hand-eye coordination. They're bringing it to their mouth, okay? So that is a skill that is not only common, it is crucial,
Okay.
okay?
Let them
Because
chew on it.
why? They're getting that sensory information through their tongues as well. Ooh, this doesn't taste nice. Ooh, this is a little bit rough. And so when they get to feed and try different things, they have that experience, okay? Hygiene is so important. Do not get me wrong. But that's why you see on the socials messy play for tots and sensory boxes for toddlers is so important, is because they have these safe environments where they can explore. Okay. Um, so yeah, obviously, if they're crawling in a place where people have been walking with their shoes on, etc., yes, clean those babies' hands and wash their hands, etc. But at home, in a safe place, in a safe place and safe space, it's okay. It's okay. And listen, children are gross. They're gonna do some gross things, right? So you use your judgment.
Yeah.
But if you can have a controlled environment where they can just be safely away from choke hazards or anything that shouldn't be around them, let it rip. Let them be free. The more sensory exposure they get from their younger is important. This leads nicely into crawling. Okay. So for me, as a pediatric therapist, crawling hands down is the most important motor milestone.
Okay.
And it should not be skipped. So it being taken off of the CDC's motor milestone checklist to
Yeah.
me is egregious. I think it does a major disservice to a child's development for many reasons. Okay. So, again, moms, I encourage you. When was the last time you crawled? How easy was that for you?
Not.
Okay. What is your, and that is my opinion. Um, it is hard. Okay. Do you have the trunk control to keep your tummy engaged? Do you have the bilateral coordination, one arm, opposite leg to crawl and explore your environment while keeping your head up, while keeping your palms firm? Okay. And trusting that you're safe behind you? Are you keeping all of these in mind? Why is crawling so important, right? Not only are you getting a level of exploration that's like probably 6 inches higher than you were before, flat on your tummy, you are experiencing the world through 4 pieces of your body on the ground. Amazing sensory input. You're getting that bilateral co-coordination. So you're getting that trunk control, right? Your abs are on fire. Your hips are on fire, right? Because you're getting that co-coordination, okay? It sets you up to walk. It sets you up to run. It sets you up to swim. It sets you up to read and write. Why? Because we're using right hand, left knee as we're crawling, right? When we read from left to right. We are getting a full 180 in every sense of the task, that sets us up for bilateral coordination and fine motor skills later on. Okay.
So, in respect to that, then how do you feel where children like my daughter, she probably crawled for like a total of a month.
Okay.
And then she decided she needed to walk.
How soon did she crawl? At what age did she crawl?
It was all very close together. So she basically just kind of dragged herself across the floor until like 10 months.
10 months. Okay. So they're all crawling is not made equal. So very good point. Okay. We have what I like to call a janky crawl, the kind of like, what? Who taught you that? What are you doing? Maybe one foot is up, one knee is up, one knee's out to the side, and the other one's, hanging behind. We got the army crawl, the Jada Pinkett that she was like pulling herself across the tile crawl. We got the booty up in the air, looking like a little animal crawl. All crawling is not made equal. And, if you're in therapy, we're getting specific. Okay. We're making sure you're doing it right. Okay. Yeah. But as long as that skill occurs, I'm okay with it. Okay. But I wouldn't skip it. I wouldn't go from army crawling to walking. Mm-hmm. Why? Because she's not getting that co-coordination. Army crawling is just the fastest and the easiest way she could do it right now. Yeah. Right? So, and let's break down crawling to walking. Okay. What do you have to do to get there? Okay. You're sitting. You have to get on your hands and knees. You have to lift up onto hands and knees. Okay. Then you get into kneeling. So you're on your knees and we got those 2 sofa cushions stacked and we're kneeling. Then we have half kneeling. One foot goes up, one knee's on the ground, one knee's up, right? And then they're pushing through one foot. That's a power of one leg to push into standing, okay? Because our babies are not sitting down in a chair and just rising to stand initially. No, they're pulling to stand through the power through both hands and one foot, okay? Then they're cruising on the furniture, okay? So they need good hip strength because walking, really all the power comes from one side of the body. You're in stride, right? So as you heel strike on one foot, the other side of your body is behind you, getting ready to propel and push you forward, okay? And it's not going to look mature in your first walkers. You're going to have those, wide base of support and arms straggling to begin. But these are the mini milestones that we need to master. Does your child have good hip strength to propel themselves forward? Can they, what we call balance on one leg? No, we don't expect them to balance on one leg, but can they weight all their body weight through one leg, whether they're holding on? Okay. Can they pull to stand? Can they cruise around the furniture, which typically happens before they even crawl, because babies love to push to stand. They love to look like grown-ups and, do big kid things. But I would encourage you, if you're seeing that, literally take their little knees as they're cruising, pulling to stand, and this is their thigh, right? Take their little knees and push their feet under them and put them on their knees. Get them to weight bear on their knees so they build up that glute strength, that quad strength. And let me tell you, when you build up that glute strength and that quad strength, you're building their pelvic floor muscles. You're improving their function to release their urine, release their feces, hold their urine, hold their feet, until, right? Which leads to reduced bedwetting and reduce accidents, right? And so if you skip that crawling, you're skipping so much that is so crucial for later on. And you're like, I don't understand. My kid is 6 years old and still wetting the bed. Like, what's wrong? Is your kid still 6 years old and W sitting? Is it because they never got up in 4-point kneeling, right? And had the strength to, come back into sitting and sit crisscross applesauce?
Oh, is that why they do it?
W sitting is a sign of weak hips, right? I sure as hell can't W sit.
Oof. Looks very uncomfortable.
It looks very uncomfortable. But if they have all of that flexibility in their hips, and it is a form of sitting in children, but if they only W sit, that's a sign of weak hips, okay? Especially as they get older and you're still seeing it into 4, 5, 6-year-olds, I would be, that would wave an orange flag to me, not a red flag, but an orange flag. So you just want to make sure that your child is able to do all that they can within the parameters that they are able to, right? They might have been born with a birthing injury. They might have a leg limp discrepancy. They might have been born with club feet. So when I say within the parameters that they're able to, that's what I mean, okay? But It is a concern. So when should you be concerned that, oh, my child's not doing this? Should I get this checked out? If by 18 months your child is not walking, take them to see your primary care physician. If your primary care physician, which often happens, again, the therapy police and or pediatrician police might come for me, that's okay. If you still feel like you want that child to get checked and they say, oh, it'll come, oh, just give it some time. If your mom gut is firing and it don't feel right, get the kid screened. Okay. It may be nothing and it may just come. They may be just late on the developmental spectrum checklist, right? But if by 18 months they're still, that is W sitting, whew, and that is a deep one. That is a deep W sit. But by 18 months they're not walking, or by 8 months they're not sitting independently. By 12 months they're not crawling, or they're bum scooting, or they're 6 months they're not rolling, or by 4 months they have no head control or not bringing hands to midline. These are the markers that you want to look out for sure.
Just cognizant of time, maybe we should move to the next age range, because you've given a lot of detail. You've given a lot of tips for the little bubs. Some of which I probably should have come to you for. I'm now seeing, but
you know what? Here's the thing. Like I said, we didn't have a pediatric physiotherapy specialty on the island. And I also find that I'm doing a lot of education for our pediatricians too, which I love, right? Because I couldn't do what I do without pediatricians. And now they have another resource to empower and, help their patients, right? So it's so important to spread awareness that, there is help for these kids. And also work together, because there are going to be cases that I will have never seen before, but I will need your guidance, right? And we're talking about, not to go on another tangent, Kadra, but we're talking about children who were born with heart defects, children who may have cancer, children who may be asthmatic and need to be taught how to use an inhaler, children who are born with cerebral palsy or Down syndrome, or, we're born with these conditions that will require significant help throughout their development and maybe their life. Okay. And it's nice now that we can work together and strengthen our community to help these populations that so desperately need it. Because listen, and this is a perfect segue into our next chat, our little people don't stay little and precious and in the comfort and protection of our arms forever. They grow into little humans, into young adults, into full functioning members of society. Okay, so it's a process.
So there is a question there, and I'm not sure if this is speech therapy or, because it sounds like you kind of have to dip into both a little bit.
You do.
What about by 1 year old and they're still not saying fluent words like mama? What sign does that show?
So 1 year old is a bit vague. Are they 1 years old and 12 months, or are they 1 year old and 23 months? Do you know what I mean? Like, are they almost 1 year old, or one years old real? So again, it's a spectrum, and so much changes in those second 12 months. I am not a speech therapist, so I'm not going to advise firmly on that. But I would say, if you have a problem with it, if you're concerned about it, seek help. Okay. But like I say, these milestones are in tandem with one another: speech, communication, social skills, feeding, gross motor, fine motor. Okay. So by 12 months, they should be able to identify you as mom. Okay. So they're about 20 months or so. I wouldn't expect them to be speaking fluently, but they should be able to mimic words or identify objects as words at this stage. Now, how well they say it, or that's not my specialty, but yeah, that's what I'd say about that.
What mobility or motor skill trends have you observed most post-pandemic?
So I can only answer from my experience. So I see a lot of children who are more highly involved, meaning they have more significant diagnoses beyond just developmental delays, right? So we've all witnessed the spike in autism in our communities. So for me personally, in my practice, children that were walking have regressed, right? And that's just because they weren't given access to the care that they had, and they've grown and gotten older, and they're heavier, and they require more attention. But as a blanket statement, nothing post-pandemic that has occurred. Okay. There was a pause in people having babies, I'll tell you that.
Was there?
There was. I didn't say how they make the babies. I said having babies.
Oh, okay.
During COVID, because it was scary. You were one of the moms who weren't you pregnant over COVID?
Yeah.
And that was scary, right? So either you entered COVID pregnant, or you kind of waited until, okay, is it okay now?
Is it safe now?
Is it safe? Is it ever safe? I don't know. But
that's the question.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Anyway, let's get on to some of our older kiddos.
Yeah.
Do you have a question for me, or should I just?
Yes. Tamara, do you want to move on to I guess we started the 4 to 8-year-olds? You might still be muted.
My apologies. This jackhammering is getting to me.
That's okay.
So what are some of the top concerns you see for children between the ages of 4 to 8? And are the concerns ones where parents should have noticed it earlier? So what are your top concerns for ages 4 to 8? And do you think the parents should have noticed these concerns earlier?
Let me start by saying I don't think that it's ever fair to put a parent in that position and be like, I should have noticed this sooner. I mean, life is so busy, and you can brush it off and just think, oh, okay. And then, 2 years goes past, and okay, maybe that was a thing. Maybe I should. Okay, maybe you should have, but we're here now. What can we do about it? Right? So I would just eliminate that part from the question entirely, because we have to be compassionate with ourselves as mothers, new mothers. You have never been this old or experienced as a mother today as you ever have been. Okay? You are learning every single day. Your child has never been this old, has never had this personality as much as they have had it today. Right? So we have to give ourselves grace. Even as a therapist, I have to give myself grace. Okay? Like, my kids tell me, ow, Miss Holly, that hurt. Or, Miss Holly, you look sleepy today. I'm like, yeah, I have. I'm like, last year you couldn't even tell me that, So we have to give ourselves grace. So let's just eliminate, should we have picked up on that, right? The more educated you become, the more you know the tools and signs to look out for. So let's just start it there. 4 to 8-year-olds, just saying that out loud makes me tired, okay? Because they are the adventurous, daring, they become firm in what they want and what they want to do and how they want to achieve it. And no, my teacher said, and no, well, so-and-so is doing this, and da-da-da-da-da. If they are blessed enough to have, the communication skills at that stage to say so. But between 4 and 8 years old, really, we're looking for advanced skills, right? Hopping on one foot, hopscotch, balance on one foot, throw and catch a ball. Their dexterity skills should be improved. Moving backward or sideways efficiently, are there advanced gross motor skills really being fine-tuned at this stage? Can they walk up and down stairs reciprocally, meaning they're not going step, step, step? Can they go up 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot, which they try to do too soon sometimes? Are they using, or do they know that they can use the safety tools designed for them? So using a handrail as they go downstairs, looking for mommy and daddy's hand as they go up and downstairs. Are they aware of their surroundings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they, what is their aperture? What is their temperament when they fall? Do they have maybe I rushed. That was a little too quick. Maybe I should slow down next time. So the context becomes so much greater, right? Because they're little people now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they trying to do it because, Sammy in my class is doing it this way, so I want to do it this way? It just varies. So are they able to skip? Like skipping is hard. As an adult, skipping is very hard, that coordination. But are they becoming a little bit more daring? Are they keeping up with their teammates, their classmates on their dance teams or their swim teams or their baseball teams? Are they seeking, really at this stage, their sense of self is going to drive their function, right? And at this stage, we are more likely to see those bigger injuries, broken arms, broken fingers, sprains, open gate teeth, swollen lips, commode bumps, bruises. This is the stage where these accidents, it just is. They get faster, they get sneakier, they get a little bit more daring. I had a little girl come into me. Interesting injury, actually. She dislocated her elbow, which is crazy. She was, I think, 7 at the time, and her mommy said, "Tell Miss Holly what you was doing." And she was like, "Well, I wanted to see if I could jump off my top bunk onto the floor." Right? So she's creating like this fortress in her bedroom, and she's having a good time. And my girl did not stick the landing. She was not the gymnast that she thought she was, and she dislocated her elbow, right? So now what does that mean? It's her dominant hand. She's having difficulty grasping, twisting, squeezing. But these injuries are mechanical, meaning we can tell a story how it happened. They weren't spontaneous. They weren't, mysterious. We know this happened and this is the injury and this is how we deal with it. Okay. That's typically, hopefully, what we face at this age. And at 4 to 8, our muscles, our bones aren't fully developed yet, right? So we may get away with what we call a green stick fracture, where the bone was just bent, not fully broken. Okay. And we can cast that, and in 4 weeks, we're good. Okay. When we get a little older, our bones aren't skeletally mature until we're, it depends what your genetic type is, but 18 really is where we see skeletal maturity and where fractures become a little bit more severe. But yeah, we wish we could have 12 pairs of eyes and hands, but you just gotta hope for the best at that age.
I'm at the 4 end of it, and it's getting rough. So I can only imagine.
And I'm at 10, but I constantly say in the house, "Can we walk?" Like, instead of just walking through, we gotta skip. We gotta skip for the kitchen. We just can't walk. It's like,
no, you can't walk. So
we mastered that so well.
What can you do at that stage? when they fully understand you and know what you're doing, that's when we need to safeguard. Okay. All right. You hit your head on this kitchen counter corner. Okay. You get a bruise or whatever. Make it a teachable moment. Okay. And as I'm sure you do, right? But where a therapist would get concerned is, okay, why did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I am not a parent yet. So I can't speak on that, right? But again, looking and breaking it down into why things are happening, right? And for my moms with older kids, I encourage you to place your child in age appropriate extracurricular activities. We live in a growing society where we want our 5 and 6 and 7 year olds to be Picassos and Usain Bolts, and I'm all for it. I support it. Okay. But you need to make sure, especially our prepubescent little girls, okay?
Say that word again.
Prepubescent. So before
Okay.
they've seen their menstrual cycle.
Right. Okay.
It is so important that we are placing them in programs that are safe and nurturing to their bodies, their growing bodies, okay? I'm seeing way too many preteens come in and they're complaining of back pain and groin pain and shoulder pain because their tennis programs or their dance programs are a little bit too advanced for what their bodies can dictate at this stage. And
And the backpacks that are luggages for school.
yes, it happens. I mean, I ain't getting yelled at by the school police, okay? Only the parents and police could come for me, okay?
But I speaking as a parent, so I had to be the parent to get the luggage bag because
Right,
the backpack just ain't making no sense.
right. So my point is make sure, and if it's not being done at these extracurriculars, because I get it, there's a lot of kids and time and they just want to do whatever the activity is they're doing, it needs to be supplemented by good stretching, good body awareness. I'm going to get into some of these now. If your child is going to play soccer, for example, they should know what a squat is. They should know what a lunge is. They should be able to run through their own dynamic stretching routine at home before engaging in the competition. A lot of these injuries are happening is because the body is not appropriately prepared or prepped for the activity. Okay. They go from doing nothing, nothing, nothing. And then we throw our kids in these summer camps, this tennis summer camp for 3 weeks. And then they were wondering why they're having this wrist pain or this elbow pain. Like, that's all good and fun, but you need the same as us. Imagine if someone told us right now, you in camp for 3 weeks to go play basketball. How would we feel when we come home after that first night? And yes, while children are resilient and they produce results so much faster than we do, if they are more prone to injury, if they are more prone to injury or more prone to growing pains or more prone to just discomfort, we don't want to see kids in pain. It breaks my heart. It is the worst part of my job. I tell parents all the time, I see kids who need my help. Kids who need my help are often struggling in some shape or form, okay? And then you have concerned parents. They break my heart too. They stress me out, but they break my heart too because it's a lot. So I'm encouraging the mothers of our older children to ensure if it's not being done at the program that they're attending, make sure when they come home, they take 2 minutes to just assess how does your body feel? How do you feel after that practice? Get into that habit of how do you feel? How do your knees feel? How do your hips feel? To just ensure that, we're not developing an injury that will stick with us for the rest of our lives, because I do what I do because I was one of those kids. Okay, I played soccer on our national team since I was probably about 13 until I was 18. I danced for 12 years, and to this day, my right hip, she ain't about it. Okay? And now I stay fit. I run and I exercise often, and I still cannot shake it. I know all the tools in the book, and I still cannot get over the pain. And just because it's the right hip, don't mean to stay in the right hip. It comes up the back, it goes down to the ankles. It's a thing. So and I've always been very fitness, healthy minded. But the point is, ensure that your child is in a safe and age appropriate program. Okay. It's all okay for them to, say, oh, you could play with the 16-year-olds today. That's fine. But when they come home, let's do a body check in. How we feeling? Are you sore anywhere? Do you need to sit in a hot tub with the 10% sore because you want the best of them? And that's okay. Shoot for the stars. We want our kids to thrive, but can we take a moment? Can we normalize self-care and body awareness now?
Yeah.
Okay. Too often I have these, know-it-all, God bless them, young teenagers come in and I'm like, okay, show me what your stretching routine is when you go to basketball. Show me what your warm-up routine is after you go to, and even if it's art class, these children are sat over these easels or whatever, and they are hunched over and they're complaining of neck pain. And it's like, I understand that, but listen, and I'll be very candid. I make money because these check-ins are not happening. And nothing I do is reinventing the wheel. My purpose, my job is to empower and provide the knowledge to these parents and these children and their caregivers of how to prevent this. What you can do at home to ensure that you're feeling good. So let's check in. Let's normalize. How did tennis go today? Did y'all do any jogging to warm up? How did that feel? And when uncle or daddy come around and say, come, let's go walk the bridge. No, do not do it.
You're talking to the bridge lady right now.
It's just too much on our little joints at this stage. Okay? Walking is fine, but we ain't jogging no bridge and we ain't climbing Mount Everest. No. I think Chinese goes in that time. It's natural, right? Answering this question that was on the screen, you're going to have some aches and pains from using electronic use. But again, like I said, I'm not a posture police person. I think it's natural. The way we all relax is fine. But can they get into those strong postures, right? And also, let's take a break. Let's just take a break. Let's go outside. Let's do something different. Let's use our bodies the way they were intended to be used to do all things. We weren't given these beautiful hands and eyes and necks to sit inside on our phone curled up all day. Okay. And it's a reminder for us too. The way that I practice, I always try to remain empathetic. And just because I have all this knowledge and I know the difference, I put myself in these positions and I literally work it out. I get in 4-point kneeling and I say, okay, what am I feeling? Why might this be hard for this child? And I think you have to sometimes, right? Because not to get on the bridge lady again, but when you come home from walking the bridge, mentally you might feel fantastic, but in the morning you might wake up and say, oof, maybe that was a little too much, right?
Listen,
and mind you, while I'm a trained with a pediatric
it's literally for a mental space. I ain't doing it for the aches and pains.
That's a whole other conversation, right? But while I'm trained as a pediatric specialist, I had to be trained in adults as well, right? So and that could be a whole other conversation, and I think there's so much that we haven't touched on tonight specifically. Oh, this morning, excuse me,
Right.
specifically, but one thing I wish for our Bahama land is better body awareness in
Yeah.
all ways. I mean, it kills me sometimes when, Grammy or Mummy or whoever's bringing the child and they're learning right there with me. And I'm like, how did we make it so far as a nation?
Yeah.
Why don't we know the benefits of exercise? Why don't we know how to swim? Why don't we understand the benefits of salt water and what that could do to de-weight our joints and the benefits that it has on, sensory improvement for our kids? Why don't we put our kids on the floor? Like why? Why are we spending all this money when we can do it ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm very passionate. You could tell about this, but listen, like I said in the beginning, and I hope all of you feel comfortable to reach out to me via. I'll provide the wife her ladies with my details, but my Instagram or my website or my email or whatever. My goal is to help our little ones thrive. That's the whole point. That's why we bring them into the world, right? We want them to succeed.
Yes.
Okay, but let's get in the habit of before we. Hey, stop that. Why'd you do that? Okay, let's think about the context. I know it's so easy to just, get there and catch me when I have a kid, when I have a kid. Let's see if I'm, having the same response. But let's review the context. What did we learn today? Let's review the context. Let's adapt it and make it appropriate for the child and their environment and their age and their abilities, and let's create a plan so that we aren't making the same overlooks or mistakes going forward, right? Let's check in with our babies, our growing, beautiful young people, and let's check in with ourselves and let's make sure that we are thriving, because that's the goal. I always tell people, I don't know about Holly. Holly ain't thriving yet, but I know my babies will be. Okay. I want them to just do the best that they can, because they are the ones who are gonna make this country what it's going to be. Okay. So I hope
Yes.
you learned something today.
Yes, I learned a lot, but I can't let you go without the adolescents. So we have one
Okay.
question. What
Mm-hmm.
are the common injuries that require physiotherapy and in adolescents? And as parents, is there something we should be looking out for?
Again, this could be a whole other hour talk. And that was kind of when we're talking about our adolescence,
Mm-hmm.
and puberty and hormones and all of these beautiful things. What I was explaining before about making sure the programs that you're putting your child in is age appropriate.
Okay.
The reason is that most common what I'm seeing are overuse and or underuse injuries, right? Jumping into something where they've never done before without appropriate planning or body
Mm-hmm.
preparation. And then again, you have your typically for our adolescent well population, I emphasize well, meaning children who have no coexisting conditions, they're going to be your sports and muscular injuries. And let me say, while I am happy to treat these children, sometimes what I do is have them come to me for an initial assessment under an appropriate pediatric lens. And then I
Mm-hmm.
determine if they would be better suited at a colleague of mine who is better in helping them run faster, jump higher, swing stronger.
Okay.
That's a performance therapist. That is not me.
Okay.
I am the therapist that wants to get you back to baseline to help you do what you got to do. If you want to be Michael Phelps, and I have colleagues who are better suited for that. But for a pediatric initial assessment, again, environment matters. I think getting that assessment under my practice, it would be beneficial so we can create that plan. And if it's appropriate that you stay with me and she's a young girl and you don't want her, elsewhere, I'm supportive of that too. But
Mm-hmm.
also in our adolescent population, and this is another tangent that we can go on that I'm very passionate about, but I'll keep it short. We do not see our disabled adolescent community on our streets.
Wow.
A, we do not, and I know my grandfather is probably rolling in his grave to hear this right now. We do not make our country accessible for them. We do not educate our community on our disabled citizens, and they are far too stigmatized to A, want to be seen in society, or B, function in society. So actually do a lot of work with the Bahamas Association of the Physically Disabled. It's a government subsidized nonprofit. It's actually a school, but also a bit of a daycare that takes care of our disabled adolescent youth. And these children are far more disabled than, the kids that would come and see me in my practice. So they could be nonverbal. They might be amputees. They might have been born with club feet. And so they cannot walk, even though club feet is something that, can be fixed, but they're, 16, 17 years old and they're confined to a wheelchair. They have all of their senses about them, but they can't walk. So they can't go into the regular school system because they can't toilet themselves, but they're all there faculty wise. Spina bifida, they might be paralyzed down their legs. I mean, some really, really tragic cases. And for those adolescents, the best thing that could happen to them is improved education in our country about who they are, what services they need that are pediatric specific, and just making them feel like they are a part of society. Because just because they can't communicate the way you and I do, don't mean they don't understand, right?
Correct.
So, not to end on a somber note, but if you want to learn more about the BAPD and see ways that you can help and see how other Bahamian kids are thriving, I can also give you more information on that. So, I volunteer weekly and provide my physiotherapy services to those kids, stretch them out, help them walk, get them in walking aids, transfer them, teaching the carers at that facility how to position them, how to feed them, how to toilet them without hurting them safely, how to communicate with them appropriately. We are in such great need of caring carers, not just carers, caring carers. Okay. So, yeah, we have, and we're not even getting into our disabled adults, but our adolescent disabled community are amazing. They are the happiest kids I've ever seen in the world, truly. Um, but yeah, it's a spectrum, right? Grateful and blessed to have children who are born with 10 toes and 10 fingers and all their faculties about them, but we do not see the children who are not as fortunate. Even their own homes, their carers, their families are too stigmatized by how
Yeah.
they might be treated in society, and
Yeah.
therefore we don't create an environment that is accessible to them, not in school, not in our healthcare services, and not in even sometimes in their own homes. A lot of these children are shipped to the island because they aren't going to be served. But anyway, like I said, I can talk about it for a
Thank
long.
you for that, though. Thank you for that.
Yes.
But knowledge is power. So now you know about it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're located on Dolphin Drive, opposite Stapleton School. School's closed for the summer, so they're out enjoying. But I will, share information about that community and what they're doing as and when, if you all are interested. Just so you know, I'm not asking you to do anything, but just so you know that these kids exist and, they're Bahamians too.
Yeah. I think that's definitely needed. I even remember when my kids saw someone for the first time in a wheelchair when they were much younger.
Mhm.
Just letting them see how we interact with persons like that. I mean, you
We
still
have
have
to
the conversation.
normalize it.
Yeah, you still hug them. You still like, it's nothing strange. And of course, once they are at the age of understanding, then you can further explain. But I think again, like you said, we typically have that stigma attached, and it may not be them, it may be the caregiver, it may be the family who has them so set aside from the world, thinking that I want to protect them from being hurt, or I want to keep them in that bubble, um, which then causes people to not know how to interact with them because
Right.
it's not normal. We don't see them, so
But
definitely.
let our children, me, who
Mm-hmm.
has all the children, let our children be the ones that bridge the gap,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, whether it be through their own rehab experience or their own knowledge. Let our kids be the one to say, this wheelchair is so cool. Can you show me how you use it?
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh my goodness, you can transfer out of your wheelchair without touching the ground. Like, amazing. Like, you have all this upper body strength. That is so cool. You get to use an iPad to communicate. Oh my goodness. Like, let's take it away from why can't you talk to actually, I talk on my iPad. Do you have an iPad that can do this?
Mm-hmm.
Perspective,
Yes.
Very much.
is the point. So listen, there's a lot of love and a lot of work that can be done for any and all children. It doesn't matter what age. And I just pray that when it's my turn to have children, I am as strong-willed and compassionate as I am with my parents now. My heart is so big for these kids. I just hope that, when it's my turn, hopefully I've taught them enough that they could teach me, because they say it all goes out the window when you have your own, right? So I feel super blessed to be able to do what I do, and I am happy. I'm happy that this is what I do and can offer this for our little people in the Bahamas. They deserve it. They deserve it.
I agree. Thank you so much, Holly.
You're
This has been
welcome.
very informative. I'm getting
Very,
plenty calls, I'm sure now.
very.
I think it's important because no one understands what I do. No one, first of all, not many people understand what physical therapy is to begin with. And then you break it down to kids. Like, it's so important to have the conversation. And kids are so, oh my goodness, they're interesting people. They're interesting little humans, and teaching them their everyday basic life functions. To me, it's so interesting. So keep the socks off your baby,
No
okay?
socks.
No socks.
And on the
On
ground.
the ground.
But thank
That's,
you
that's
so much. Thank you
You're
so, so much.
welcome.
Like I just said, it's been very interesting and informative. I know even those who may have missed the live on the replay, there's so many gems, so many eyes being opened
Mm-hmm.
to persons who may have young ones, persons who are about to have young ones, or just in wait for theirs. I mean, it's a lot of information, so we thank
Mm-hmm.
you so, so much. um Thank you for your time. We will definitely be following up with you, whether
Yeah, I would love that.
personally or back on the platform again for another time. um
Kadra already offered one of her little ones to model, so
I did.
maybe we could do a little. Well, what do you mean by this position? We could do a little. Okay, show
yes.
me what you mean. Kind of
Yeah.
talk. That would be good too.
Yes, yes. So thank you. We literally went to the wire with this
That's
time
fine.
today, and I still feel like we haven't touched even. We're
We can
just
make
still
we
on the
can make it a
surface.
series. We can make it a
We
There you
series.
can,
go.
we can. But thank you so much. Before we let you go, we just want to cover you in prayer and our community. So let us pray. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this time that we were able to come and just have good conversation around topics that may not necessarily be vocalized. We thank you for Holly for her time on this Saturday, where she could have been doing so many other things, but yet saw it fitting to partner with Wife Her. Father, we ask that you would bless her abundantly, not just for her time, but even in her finances, even in her personal and her professional aspirations, Father. We thank you and we praise you for this community, for our founder. We thank you for Kadra, who led this session, who saw it fitting that we needed to cover such a topic as this in this time and season. And so we ask that your peace and your presence would rest with each of us and every home listening, whether on the live or in the replay. We praise you. We give you all glory and honor in Jesus' name.
Amen. I received that. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome. Thank you so much. Okay, we have your information going on our screen.
Yeah.
www.thrive.
Follow me on Instagram. I post all my little cuties.
Okay.
And some tips and tricks on there. The ones I have consent to post, of course.
Yeah.
Drop your Instagram handles for us. Let us know your Instagram handles, please.
Yep, it's Thrive Bahamas. I'll type it right now.
Okay, so it's okay. So Thrive Bahamas, awesome. So please follow Holly. She is located Hawkins Hill, right across from Doctor's Hospital. Is that correct?
I'll send I'll send you all that info. I in town. I'm close to everybody.
Hello to everyone. And what I love about this, Holly, too, is that you have partnered with pediatricians, and I think that is so important.
You have to. No man is an island. You don't get far without, and that's something I feel strongly about, right? We have to work together. Listen, there are too many children not getting the services that they need. Mm-hmm. Too many of our families running to the US for services that exist here or can exist here.
Yes.
We need to band together and work together. And I am thankful that, I've been able to create a solid network and to be able to liaise back and forth with pediatricians and parents to create plans for each child. It's not generic. And I'll tell you, therapy is a time commitment. You don't just you might come and see me one and done and I'll say, relax, you're fine, your kid's fine. But it might be that I see you for a year, so we really do become besties in a sense.
It's family.
It's family. It's a team effort. It's a team effort, really. As with anything in life, eh?
Yes. No man is an island, like you said. So thank you once again to our Wife Her community. We are heading into July. As of Monday, July 1, our focus for the month is independence, and that is taken from John 5 and 15. So get ready for that. We have our monthly prayer at 5 a.m. and then our message at 7 p.m. on the 5th of every month. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in, and let us know that you enjoyed this session. Do subscribe to the Wifer channel so you can be notified whenever we go live. Thank you, Kadra, Mom's team lead.
Thank you, Tamara.
And thank you, Holly,
You're welcome.
Our most gracious guest. We will definitely be having you back.
Sounds good. I'm here for it.
Yeah. So happy Saturday, everyone.
You as well. Have a good day, everybody.
You too.